So everybody sees the slides? Yeah? Perfect. Good. Thank you. So again, how to communicate effectively to have the dream marriage. And today we are going to talk about these three common issues, which is lack of listening, mind reading, and the negative nonverbal communication. And lack of listening is the most common one. It really causes the 65%. So basically saying on the 65%, most people say lack of listening. And with that, the misunderstanding and the conflict that comes with the lack of listening are the reason, number one, in communication while divorces are filed. Because if you don't listen, you create these misunderstandings, you create these conflicts, and it actually breaks down your trust and the respect. Because how do you want to trust somebody? How do you want to respect somebody if the person is not listening to you? And if you feel that you're not out, if you feel that you aren't heard, the next one is mind reading. And this is the assumption that somebody else thinks that you already knows what you want to talk about and basically already knows better. In the worst case, cuts you off while you're stating your point and then misleads the whole conversation and even causing more stress and more problems. And this, what problems does it cause? It causes misinterpretations and assumptions. For example, you talk about your children and I don't know, something that you have to go through, like, I don't know, bring your son to soccer practice, however, you're so busy and you need somebody else, but shut up, shut up. And then he said, yeah, but, and then he cuts you off where you want to explain why you're busy, why you cannot do it. And he always say, hey, you're always busy and you always have this, you have that. And you wanted to say something completely different. And then your partner brings the whole conversation in a different path, creating these tension to it just because he or she thought he knew better and he or she knew already what you're going to talk about. So mind reading leading to misinterpretation and these assumptions are toxic, are basically toxic. And this is one of the things that really causes most frustrations and most tensions and most aggressive behavior, because people say, hey, let me talk. You don't know what I talk about. No, I know already because I know you. Maybe you heard that already. And this causes this lack of open communication. How can you communicate openly if the other person thinks what you want to talk about? And you've always cutting you, always cutting the conversation, always bulldozing you because he or she thinks he knows better. So there's no space for an honest conversation. There's no space for a heard and free conversation. The only way there's space for is more tension. And the last of these three topics is non-negative verbal communication, where it's about facial expressions, it's about gestures, it's all about body language. It's not about what you say. It's not necessarily about how you say it. It's about how your whole body reacts. And this can make people feel unhappy and even unfriendly. For example, you want to talk about something and you feel it's very serious and your partner rolls their eyes or turns like sideways, like for example, like rolls eye, turns sideways, maybe crosses the arms, and you feel, hey, you don't take me serious, do you? And then, yeah, what did I do? Yeah, I see that. You roll the eyes on me, you look to the left, you look to the right. You're not interested in what I have to say. And this stop this good talking, this stop this good conversation because you don't feel, again, you don't feel seriously taken. You feel like the person is not acknowledging you. You feel like he's not even taking you seriously because his body language or her body language says what's completely different. And this is why body language is so important. And we're going to talk about a little bit later how you can be more mindful of your body language. This is something where even I have to deal with sometimes, or my wife. This is an ongoing process. It takes a long time to know how you react. And this is one of the most things where you really have to rely on your partner because we are often very unconsciously doing this. And of course, we don't know better because this is what we do since years. So, in the lack of listening, what can we actually do? So, how can you improve your listening skills? It's all about learning active listening. So, if somebody talks to you, don't get distracted by your phone, don't get distracted by your thoughts, and really learn to be there. Learn to listen, learn to be present, and learn to just be there, take the moment. And there's a very good tip if you are an active conversationer and if somebody is speaking to you and if the person stops speaking, wait 3 seconds. So basically count inside you. Person stops speaking, to 1, 2, 3, and reply. Because sometimes people have a short break and then they start speaking again. And it's kind of, people feel kind of cut off if they still want to talk and you already start speaking. So this is where the 3 second rule comes in very handy. So really learn active listening. Don't get distracted by your thoughts and don't get distracted by everything else around you, especially phones or the doorbell, or in worst case, the barking dog outside. And avoid interruptions and summarize and reflect. So basically, your partner tells you, hey, I feel that I'm not heard, I feel not listened to, and I don't feel that this is going to work out, and I'm tired. And you say, hey, I hear you. You feel tired because you feel that I don't listen to you. You feel that I don't be there for you. And this is the summarization and reflection and say, hey, I see how you react, and I'm so sorry. This is the conversation. And that's not only even in the relationship, it's also like a perfect way in in services, in hospitality, wherever you work. People like to be heard. And people like when you repeat what they say to make sure that they are heard. And try it. And you see how people are going to react to you. What about mind reading? What can you do to avoid this mind reading? It's about open communication and It's about honesty. And it's about not trying to force your assumption on it. It's the same part like the active listening skill. Don't force your communication. Don't force yourself. If you feel that you want to interrupt the person, in the worst case, bite on your tongue or bite on your cheeks internally. Just, or like ram you or like do this. Yeah. So try to remind yourself that you have to hold yourself back. And the best way is to do like a little bit like short pain a little bit, not slap your face, just a little bit like have a reminder that you need to listen, that you need to hold yourself back. And then always get this feedback and the clarification. Hey, you just mentioned ABC, and is that right? Did I understand you correctly? So the mind reading is very similar in the way how to approach it, like the lack of listening. However, like both have don't feel disturbed. The lack of listening is don't feel disturbed by the external environment. The mind reading is don't disturb yourself by your own thoughts, because your own thoughts always want to push you to cut this conversation, to force your assumption on this conversation. However, you don't want to let that happen. So cut yourself back. Like squeeze your hand or whatever, like as a reminder, okay, I have to stop, I have to stop, I have to stop. I don't want to interrupt my partner. And calm down and keep on listening. And then reflect on what the person taught you. The last part, the number 3, the non-verbal communication, is where you do eye rolling, like look to the left, to the right, arm crossing, like everything that basically shows that you don't care what the other person says, or you don't feel that's relevant, because this is often the case. The first thing is, and this is the most important thing, is be aware of yourself. So you have, and this is where you have to train your own mindfulness. Be mindful of what you do. And if you feel for yourself it's difficult for you because we don't see ourselves outside, and invite your partner a little bit to coach you. Not and coaching means to be in a space of hey, I don't know, because you do a lot of things you do it subconscious, because you do it since years, and it's basically like riding a bike, driving a car, whatever. It's like in your genes automatically. So non-verbal communication, you might have done that for years, this eye rolling, whatever. It's subconsciously, and you don't even recognize yourself. So invite your partner and tell him or her, hey, I love you, and I want to get better. So please help me by pointing out when I do these non-verbal things, when I roll my eyes, when I look to the left, to the right, when I look like I don't care. Because only then I can learn. Only then I can see where this comes from. Because a lot of times there's the like links. There's a certain topic that triggers this event, that triggers this non-verbal communication. And your partner sees that. You don't see that, because you don't know. Or you're very mindful and you figure out, hey, did I just roll my eyes again? And then say, hey, I'm sorry. I just figured out I rolled my eyes and I'm really sorry. And let's start again. Because the conversation is not a one-way street. If you figure out, hey, something went wrong, ask to do like 2 steps back and start again. And as mentioned, talk about your body language. Mention it, saying that, hey, if you don't see yourself, I mean, you don't see yourself. I mean, you cannot see yourself. So this is how it is. Ask your person or your partner to be your coach in that perspective. Hey, you just rolled my eye, you just crossed your arms, you just did that with your legs, you just did just nervousness in your eyes, maybe the tongue, whatever. Allow him to point that out. And this is the only thing where you can learn. You can only learn when things got pointed out. And you'll see that you're getting better and better, that you yourself getting much more clear where the communication goes. It's all about learning. It's all up, and it's communication. It's a marriage. The marriage is all about allowing to do mistakes, also learning from these mistakes, learning them as a couple, because you are here for the long run. You don't get married just because, let's get married for a year and then get divorced because things don't work out. At the time when you decide to go married, you hopefully wanted to have that happen for the rest of your life. Be open, work together. And I can tell you from my own experience, it can take a while. However, have patience. Because a lot of behaviors we learned over years, and they don't go away in a day, in a week, or a month. It might take a half a year to really get control over it. It's important that you recognize them and that you're willing to overcome them, and if you're willing to change it. If you have any questions, we are going to deep now.